Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep, comprehensive look at something that is absolutely foundational if you're planning to do any kind of business in the state of Connecticut. We are talking about the Connecticut sales tax permit. Now, whether you're an in-state retailer opening up a brand new brick-and-mortar storefront, maybe a weekend warrior at a local craft fair, or an out-of-state e-commerce brand scaling up your sales, understanding this process is completely non-negotiable. We're going to walk through this step by step so you know exactly what is required to get compliant and, more importantly, stay compliant. But, before we even talk about the how, we really need to talk about the why. $250. Boom. That is the civil penalty in Connecticut for literally just the very first day you operate without a required sales tax permit. Not the first month, the first day. And honestly, it just escalates like crazy from there. If you continue to ignore the rules, operating without a permit can cost you up to a $500 fine per offense, or, and I'm not exaggerating here, up to 3 months in jail. Yeah, actual jail time. The state of Connecticut takes tax compliance incredibly seriously. It's an absolute necessity for your business to get this right from day one to avoid crippling penalties or, criminal charges. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our clear, chronological roadmap for today. Number 1, cost of non-compliance. 2, who needs a permit. 3, the MyConnect application process. 4, filing your sales tax. And finally, 5, key mistakes to avoid. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, cost of non-compliance, the true price of ignoring the rules. So the crucial point here is really how fast these penalties snowball. Remember that $250 civil penalty for day one? Well, it's followed by a $100 penalty for every single following day that you engage in business without that permit. And on top of the potential criminal penalties we just mentioned, if you're late paying the taxes you actually owe, you're looking at a penalty of 15% of the tax due or a $50 minimum, whichever is greater. Plus, they're going to tack on a 1% interest charge for every month or even a fraction of a month that you're late. That kind of compounding interest can wipe out a small business's profit margins just like that. Moving right along to Section 2, who needs a permit? Physical presence versus economic nexus. So, how do you actually trigger this requirement? It basically boils down to 2 main ways. First up is physical presence. This is your traditional old school way, right? You have a storefront, an office, maybe inventory stored in a CT warehouse, or employees working in the state. Think of a local baker opening a shop, or even an artisan setting up a booth for just one single day at a summer pop-up market. That physical presence means you absolutely need a permit. Then we have economic nexus, which is specifically for out-of-state remote sellers. You trigger this if, in the previous 12-month period, you had $100,000 or more in gross receipts from Connecticut sales, and you had 200 or more separate retail transactions shipped to Connecticut customers. You've got to hit both of those thresholds to trigger economic nexus. And this brilliantly illustrates the golden rule of Connecticut sales tax. You must have your permit before your first taxable transaction. Guys, there are absolutely 0 exceptions here. There's no temporary seller grace period. You can't just set up your table at the Sunday flea market and say, well, let me just see if I make any sales first before I bother registering. Nope, you need this permit in your hand before you make a single sale. Let's jump to the solution phase. Section 3, the MyConnect application process, your step-by-step registration guide. All right, prep work. Step 1, gather all your essential business info. We're talking your federal employer identification number or social security number, your NAICS code, which, if you're not familiar, is just a standard code that classifies what your main business activity is, and, of course, the owner details. Step 2 is super important. You need to have your bank routing and account numbers ready for an ACH direct withdrawal to pay the $100 registration fee. This is crucial because credit cards are not accepted for this specific fee, so have the bank details on standby. Once you're sorted there, Step 3 is heading straight to the Department of Revenue Services online portal, affectionately known as MyConnect. Now, just for some quick historical context, you might occasionally hear people refer to Form REG-1. This right here is what the old legacy paper application used to look like. And while technically you can still apply by mail, the state now strongly mandates using the digital MyConnect portal. Honestly, mailing this paper form can take weeks to process, whereas the online portal gets you up and running almost instantly. Now, what's really interesting about this step in the portal is that the system actually groups different tax accounts together. You're going to be asked which accounts you want to register for. Make sure you specifically check the sales and use tax box. Why? Because every separate tax account you register for might carry its own $100 fee. So you definitely want to be precise here and only check the boxes that literally apply to your business. Right before checking out, you'll hit this fee summary screen just to confirm your total. You'll see that flat $100 sales permit fee, which is non-refundable, by the way, and is valid for 2 full years. After you knock out the payment details, the final step is creating your MyConnect logon and security profile. And this is a total game changer, because the very moment you complete this profile and submit, the system instantly generates a temporary permit that you can print out right then and there. That means you can legally start making sales immediately. The official permanent permit will show up in the mail in about 3 to 5 business days. Just remember, you are legally required to display it prominently at your place of business. Let's move to and see how this builds into our next topic. Section 4, filing your sales tax, maintaining your permit and compliance. So you've got the permit. Awesome. Now what? Well, when you register, the state is going to assign you a filing frequency based on your expected or prior year's tax liability. If your liability is over $4,000, you're on the hook to file monthly. If it's between $1,000 and $4,000, you file quarterly. Under $1,000, you just have to file annually. But no matter what your frequency is, your sales tax return, which is known as Form OS 1114, is always due on or before the last day of the month following the end of your filing period. Okay, couple of hard and fast rules for filing that we need to cover. First, you must file and pay electronically through the MyConnect portal using that Form OS-14. But here is the golden rule, the absolute most crucial thing to remember. 0 returns are absolutely required. I can't stress this enough. This means even if your business was closed for an entire month or you made literally 0 sales, you still must log in and file a return reporting $0. Which brings us to the final stretch. Section 5, key mistakes to avoid, protecting your business from costly errors. We've already touched on a few of these massive pitfalls, right? Don't make a sale without a permit. Never, ever forget to file a 0 return, because remember, skipping that triggers an automatic minimum penalty of $50. And of course, keep a really close eye on your remote sales volume so you don't accidentally cross that economic nexus threshold without even realizing it. But here is a super surprising Connecticut law you probably didn't know. It is strictly 100% illegal for a retailer to advertise that they will absorb or pay the sales tax on behalf of the customer. You literally cannot run a promo saying, hey, tax-free weekend, we pay the sales tax for you. If you try that, you're looking at a $500 fine for each and every offense. So what does this all mean for you? As your business grows, is your compliance keeping pace? Getting your Connecticut sales tax permit is pretty straightforward, but letting your ongoing tax responsibilities slip through the cracks, that can erase your hard-earned profits literally overnight. So take action, head over to the MyConnect portal and get registered. Now, as a quick but very important legal disclaimer, tax regulations definitely change and every single business is unique. So please always consult with a certified tax professional or a legal expert for personalized, up-to-date advice regarding your specific situation. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.